each project brought $1,500 times 3 stations, $4,500 times a whole 31 episodes.
It is common for people in permanent employment to feel comfortable and forget that the grass might be greener on the other side. The lure of the need to build a business often ushers people into the world of self-employment, turning them into entrepreneurs. Such is the story of Wills Isingoma, formerly working with a television station.
There was a production team where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a producer. To be a producer did not just come, you needed to prove. So as producers who were already selected as producers were presenting, I remember Jackie was the production manager. By then I talked to Jackie, I'm like, I have an idea. I wrote, the day they were going to present their concepts, I wrote half a page of something they needed to present for me because I wasn't in the department. And the general manager and the whole team, they actually said this is the first concept. It was the only thing that was accepted, yet I wasn't in the department. So, you cannot take my concept, you don't take me.
Wills recalls that in his days while working with television, the entrepreneurial spirit in him drove him to try his hand at different tasks, a virtue that took him to greater heights.
One of the things that I proved to this guy is like, I'm going to do a show that is actually going to bring you money, and you're going to see this. And one of the things that came from this show were sights and sounds, where, for example, UTL used to pay 4.8 per week, and they did this for 3 years. You get what I'm saying? So in what amount of money did I bring to them? I went to South Africa, I found this production show that I did on NTV was playing on 3 DSTV cables. Each station was paying $500. 3 times it was running on each station. That means each project brought $1,500 times 3 stations, $4,500 times a whole 31 episodes. So in terms of value, I had to attach value to what I do. I found myself, by the time I left, my last project was around 25 million. That was my quota.
This was the turning point in Wills' life, then an aspiring entrepreneur.
I learned so much that I needed to do on my own. So when I came back, actually I was in the US, I sent a resignation letter. I needed to leave and start my own life. I started to hustle because at the end of the day, I needed to find who exactly I am and what I can do on my own.
Armed with a wealth of experience in digital media, Wills later gathered resources to start his own business, a media agency, and he called it NTVUganda. He explains what he does.
I do documentaries, I do campaign images, let's call them feature stories for international agencies. I've done stuff for Al Jazeera, I've done stuff for BBC, I've done stuff for Sky News, I've done stuff for mostly NGOs that actually have connections internationally. So that is what I do. Now I'm venturing into doing serious series. I started with a Twaweza project. I did one about education and one about child labor. And those were kind of really successful, and that put me into the angle that I need to actually go feature.
This young entrepreneur also told me what it takes to venture into this kind of business.
I mean, resources. So if you have no savings, because the income at the end of the day that you're getting from wherever you're working is small, therefore you cannot go beyond, because that we start to live hand to mouth. Media is expensive. You need to go boldly, first create some special ideas, reach some places, and test who you are.
Starting a new business requires resources to get it off the ground. Sometimes money to rent or purchase space for the business, furniture and equipment. The list is huge, but Wills' take on startup capital was different.
As soon as I actually entered production, I just said I need to have a hard drive. A hard drive that needed 500 GB at least. What did I need this for? I knew I was going to buy footage of what I'd filmed because I'd seen another angle. Now, there was not financial capital. This was, you needed to think outside the box and have a thought of like, I need to actually utilize what I have. How much is 500 GB? It's like 150,000 today, right? So that was what I started with. But by the time I left the station, I'd made sure at least I bought my first laptop. I needed to sit down and edit. cameras I would need to hire, you know. So that is all I started with.
Today, whilst his business has grown, I asked him whether he's seeing good returns going forward.
We don't make money every day. In this, we definitely have seasons. We have seasons in the production department, for example, we believe January up to like May is dead. So therefore, we work when our peak is up, we actually work and do some little bit of saving so that we can actually survive, you know. So we don't make money all the time, but we have to be very strategic and know when we actually make money, what do we do with it, you know. You will need to expand, you will need to actually do some good thinking of savings, sustainability.
For those behind the curtains, it's hard to realize how endowed the media industry is. Will shares the view that, given attention, it can be a top forex earner for Uganda.
Let's say talk about the corporate companies that are supposed to invest in what is local. If they are already thinking, they are still thinking international. So who is going to look at made in Uganda, local production? Until, you know, UCC now talks about, you know, guys, local production is very important and we need it. So now at least we have some kind of light. Before that, even now it's still like not acceptable. They'd rather import soaps and our skills are going down. Well, Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood are growing.
This is also an industry that presents a big opportunity for employment.
Just the sound department on location alone needs over 35 people. Just as the sound department. You can imagine there is light, there is camera, there is so much. So you find on one set. Let's look at the Lord of the Rings. This production took 2 years. It is an old production, but it took 2 years on location. How much did people get? By the way, do you know how much a production person, let's have a director on set, how much he earns? It's crazy amount of money, but somebody is actually paying until the government, until the corporate companies actually start to look into this angle. We're not going to have the Bollywood, Hollywood, Nollywood.
Wills also admits that this business has significantly transformed his life, and behind his success, Wills has a word of appreciation for those that helped him along the way.
Yes, it has transformed my life. I have seen a couple of things that you know, I have bought equipment, I mean, you find you have one computer that is over 15 million. What you drive, what you know, which house you stay in. I'm building a house that I don't know whether it is mine or it's my mom, for example, but you know, I'm putting up a structure and I know, you know, I wouldn't have it if I didn't have this kind of business. I will never go without thinking about or talking about God. I'm a very faithful guy. I really believe everything that comes definitely is a success. That is, you know, glory goes back to God. Secondly, I really, in this industry, second is my brother. He's the one who introduced me to the media, into production, and then gave me a kickstart.
We officially opened our doors in August of 2013, and the people embraced us right away. The car wash customers were waiting for us to come out with the restaurant. They were waiting for a place where they could come, get a cold drink, have some lunch while they were waiting for their cars to be washed.